I saw my granddaughter's wedding invitation on Facebook. Then I did what no one expected. I saw the photo on a Tuesday. It was one of those suggested posts, the kind you're not supposed to see if you've been forgotten correctly. My granddaughter, Emma, stood under a white archway, wearing a dress I'd never seen, beside a boy I'd never met. They looked happy. The caption read, "Yesterday was magic." Yesterday. So the wedding had already happened, and I hadn't been invited. I didn't cry. I stared at it for a long time, the way you look at something that shouldn't hurt anymore, but somehow still finds a way in. I enlarged the photo, scanned for familiar faces. My son was there, his new wife, her children. Everyone smiling, everyone clapping, but not me, not even in the background. There was a time when Emma used to braid my hair. She'd sneak into my room on Sunday mornings and ask me to tell her the real stories, not the bedtime ones. I told her about her father's first fight, about the rain that broke our roof in '89, about the cookies I burned when she was born because I was too excited to time them. She used to call me Oma, then she started calling me Grandma. Then she stopped calling altogether. I showed the photo to no one. I didn't comment, didn't send a message, didn't react. I just made tea, the strong kind I drink when the world tilts too hard. And I sat in the quiet of my kitchen, surrounded by faded fridge magnets and silence. That night, I pulled out the old dress box from my closet. Inside was the pale blue skirt I wore to her baptism, still smelled faintly of lavender. The seams were tighter now, but it still zipped. I packed it carefully, along with a scarf, and my black shoes, the ones with just enough heel to remind people I still stand on principle. The next morning, I booked a train ticket to the small town where the photo was taken. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't pack a gift, and I didn't ask if I was welcome. Some things you do not out of spite, but out of memory, out of the quiet ache of being erased, and the small, powerful need to remind them, I am not gone. The train ride was quiet. I sat by the window, letting the fields blur past me like pages I'd already read. I didn't bring a book, didn't wear headphones. Sometimes silence is the only way to hear yourself think. The man next to me was young, earbuds in, typing something fast and angry on his phone. He didn't even glance at me. They rarely do anymore. I arrived in Willow Falls around noon. Small town, as quaint as I remembered from the postcard Emma sent me in 8th grade, back when she still used stamps. The bakery was still on Main, the church had fresh white paint, and the inn across the street had a vacancy. I checked in under my full name. No aliases, no sneaking around. I wasn't hiding. I was just no longer expected. At the front desk, the girl asked, "Are you here for the wedding?" I smiled. It already happened. She blinked. "Oh, sorry. Then maybe the brunch?" "I suppose I'll find out," I said softly. I spent the afternoon walking the neighborhood. I passed a park with white chairs stacked in the corner and petals crushed into the grass. I imagined where Emma must have stood, where Jake, my son, must have given a toast, where strangers clapped for a love they barely knew, while the woman who braided Emma's hair and taught her to waltz stood hundreds of miles away, holding her breath and checking notifications. I sat on a bench just outside the reception hall, not close enough to be noticed, close enough to watch. Families passed me in clusters, chatting, laughing, holding leftovers in foil trays. One little girl spilled lemonade on her shoes and didn't even cry. Brave thing. Then I saw them, Emma, in a pale yellow sundress, walking hand in hand with her husband, laughing. She looked free. It was the laugh that stung most, not because she owed it to me, but because I used to be the reason for it. She didn't see me, not yet, but I saw her. And that would be enough for now. Didn't intend to go to the brunch, but somehow my feet carried me toward the smell of warm cinnamon and burnt espresso. The kind of brunch that says Instagram more than intimacy. The event was at a small event hall behind the church. A handwritten chalkboard read, "Emma and Luke's day after brunch. Family and friends welcome." Family. I hovered near the door, watching people greet, hug, snap photos. No one noticed the woman with the silver bun and pressed blue skirt. Not yet. Inside, tables were full. Quiche, fruit platters, tiny jam jars no one ever finished. I stayed by the coffee station, silent, small, like an old ghost who had come not to haunt, but to witness. A familiar voice drifted near. "Jake, where's your mom?" My son. "I told you," he said, "she's not around. She prefers quiet these days." He didn't lie, but he didn't tell the truth either. I cleared my throat just once, softly. They didn't turn. I took a seat near the window, alone, and poured a single cup of black coffee. No milk, no sugar, no ceremony. Then it happened. A small voice. "Oma?" I turned. Emma. Closer now. Her hair in a loose braid, not perfect, not styled, just like when she was 10. Her eyes didn't widen in shock. They softened, as if part of her had expected this. "Hi," I said. Her lips parted. I didn't know you were coming." "I wasn't invited." She flushed. "It wasn't on purpose. It was complicated." "Families often are," I said gently. She hesitated, then sat beside me. No one else noticed, or if they did, they looked away. Jake glanced once, a flicker of disbelief in his eyes, but said nothing. Emma sipped from my cup without asking. She used to do that as a child. She used to say mine always tasted better. We didn't speak much, but she stayed. People left around us. Plates cleared, music faded. Still, she stayed. Finally, she said, "You look beautiful in blue." I smiled. "It's the same dress I wore to your baptism." Her eyes glistened. "I remember." I doubted she did, but I believed she wanted to. When we stood to leave, she touched my arm. Not tightly, just enough to anchor the moment. And for the first time in years, she whispered it. "Oma." That was the beginning. Not of forgiveness, not of forgetting, but of remembering that I existed. And sometimes that's the only miracle we get. I stayed in Willow Falls longer than I planned. The innkeeper didn't ask questions when I extended my reservation. She simply handed me a new key, one with a brighter ribbon, and said, "Welcome home." Funny how strangers sometimes see what family forgets. The town moved slow, and so did I. I sat at the park bench each morning, fed the birds, watched the children play near the fountain, passed by the same bakery Emma used to love, still selling raspberry tarts she used to call red clouds. Each day I walked by her street. I never knocked, but I left things. The first day, a book she used to borrow, Little Women, with underlines in her childlike handwriting. The next, a scarf I knitted her before her first recital. On the third, a photo of her and her grandfather tucked carefully in an envelope with no name. I never rang the bell, but I knew she saw them. They disappeared from the porch each evening. One afternoon, I passed her husband, Luke, at the market. He looked confused, maybe even guilty. He greeted me with a nod. That was enough. On the fifth morning, Jake showed up at the inn. He didn't look angry, just tired. He sat in the chair across from me without asking. For a long time, he said nothing. Then, "Emma told me you were here." I nodded. "She said you've been walking by her house, leaving things." "I leave things everywhere," I said softly. He laughed, but it wasn't joy, it was memory. "I didn't think you'd come," he admitted. "After everything?" "I didn't come for revenge, Jake, or confrontation." "Then why?" I stirred my tea. "Because she still says my name, and I wanted to hear it." He looked out the window. "I'm sorry we didn't invite you. I don't know what we were thinking." "You were thinking about your new life," I said, "not your old one. That's natural." "But wrong," he muttered. I didn't respond. Some truths don't need confirmation. They just need time to settle. He pulled something from his pocket, a photo, me holding newborn Emma. A hospital room, a soft pink hat, a smile that belonged to a different decade. "I found this in your old cedar chest," he said. "She didn't remember it, I did." I took the photo, smoothed its edges. "She'll remember more," I said. He looked at me. "You're staying?" he asked. I nodded. "Not forever," I added, "but not just for a brunch either." That night, Emma texted me. No emojis, no exclamation marks. Just, "Can we talk tomorrow, just us?" I stared at the screen for a long time, then typed back, "Yes, I'll bring tea." Emma opened the door before I knocked. She wore a sweatshirt 2 sizes too big and no makeup. That was the first apology. The second was letting me step in before saying a word. The house smelled like vanilla and warm laundry. Different from the house I remembered, but still soft, still lived in. She led me to the kitchen, 2 mugs already waiting. One had chipped paint near the handle, the same kind I used to use when she visited me during middle school. She remembered. We didn't start with the hard things. She asked how the train was. I asked about her work. She told me her new last name felt strange on her ID badge. Then she stopped talking and simply looked at me. There it was, the part of the conversation that doesn't begin with words. "I thought you were angry," she said. "I was sad," I replied. "Still am, a little." "I didn't know how to include you." "You didn't have to include me. You just had to remember I was there." She nodded. Silence. Then she reached for her phone and slid it across the table. A photo album was open. Title, Wedding Edits Final. I saw dozens of pictures, beautiful ones. And in the middle, a blurry shot taken from a distance, me sitting on a bench, alone, holding a cup. She had seen me, and she kept that moment. "I thought I was imagining you," she whispered. I smiled. "Maybe you were, but I'm real, and I'm still yours." We looked through the album together. She didn't apologize again, and I didn't ask her to. Some wounds don't need stitches, just hands that know where the hurt is. When I stood to leave, she hugged me, longer than expected and tighter. She didn't say Oma this time. She didn't need to. The hug said it all. As I stepped out into the golden late afternoon light, I felt the world shift just slightly. Nothing had been restored exactly, but something had been recovered. My presence, my place. That night, back at the inn, I packed my things slowly, not with regret, not with resentment, with rhythm, because now I knew, even if I wasn't in every photo, I was still part of the story, and that was enough.